What if you were to listen to an internationally acclaimed, multi-award-winning illusionist, and he had something far more to say than, "Watch this trick"? Rick Thomas is that performer, ready to go far beyond his magic and far beyond your imagination as he shares secrets regarding our dreams. Dreams that can become reality. The future belongs to those who believe in the strength of their dreams. Dreams pass into the reality of action. From the action stems the dream again. And this interdependence produces the highest form of living. Join Rick and his co-host, award-winning broadcaster Tammy Trujillo, for Nothing Happens Until You Dream. Indulge your mind and take a journey never to be forgotten. A journey connecting all of our dreams as we chase them together.
Rick, we've got a very interesting chapter today to talk about. It's chapter 50 in your book, The Tiger Whisker. It's called, just one word, Korea. And we'll get to that in a sec, but I know when there's a one-word title, you kind of go,
well, you would think that, no, actually, you're like, he's going to talk about Korea. Well, actually not. This is going to be, woe is me. And it's very difficult for me to talk about me in this sense. I know that everybody has their challenges and their life is an extreme struggle. But this story, though I'm going to share my story, I hope as I do so, you keep thinking about yourself and putting yourself in my shoes, realizing that your life is as challenging as mine. And I'm just out there to tell you, stay strong.
Well, before we get to that, because that's a heavy-duty story, I want to talk about another challenge you've recently taken on. And you are doing it like a pro here, Mr. Guy on the Radio. How'd your show go last week?
I think it was spectacular. It's about something I know a lot about.
Yeah.
Tigers.
Tigers.
Yeah, I got a chance to talk about the tigers, and I have a dog, a Great Pyrenees dog in the show currently, a few of them, and a cat in the show. His name is Loki. He's a Burmese cat, and he is stunning. And I was able to transform, or at least discuss the life with the tigers, moving from the tigers and the life with the dogs, and finally finishing with the cat. And my final quote of the day was that dogs think they're humans and cats think they're God.
Oh, they know it. They absolutely know it.
They do. And that's fascinating. You know what I actually talked about in depth was that cats, they have a personality. They have an identity crisis. They don't know who they are. They are who they are with whom they're with. If they're with humans, they believe, even though humans are bigger, taller, dumber, and clumsier,
yes,
they are the same form of what the cat is. And if a cat hangs around dogs or whatever animals they hang around with, they become that kind of creature. So as far as humans go, cat becomes more human-like only because they want something from you.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So we talked about the identity crisis that cats have, and they just say that their personality actually fluctuates with who they hang out with. So that was kind of
true. That's true. There's another quote that I always heard about cats and dogs. What was it? Dogs have masters and cats have servants.
That's right.
Oh gosh, yeah. I know.
That was above. That was actually above the sink in my home where I prepared the food for my tigers.
Oh, yes.
Every day I would look up and see that. Yes.
The chef.
I was indeed their servant.
Oh my goodness. So they've got it made. I still am somewhat convinced that they truly are alien beings from another planet. Sometimes I do believe that.
Yeah, they are a fascinating creature.
Yeah.
They really are. And people ask me often, well, what's it like having a tiger? And I just say, multiply. If you have a cat, multiply what that cat is and how they are in your life by about 1,000%, and you'll know what a tiger is. They are identical. They are feline. They act the same. They are... They go ballistic off of something that is nothing.
Yeah.
They get spooked easily, and that's what you really have to watch out for with the tiger, because the aggression can turn quickly. I'm fascinated even watching people with their cats and how fast that cat throws its claws.
Yeah, no
for
kidding.
no reason. Like the owner's like, what the?
Yeah, one minute they're purring and loving it, and all of a sudden you've got 4 feet of claws and teeth in your hand. It's like, what just happened? And then, 2 minutes later, they're looking at you like, hello, how are you?
Right.
Like Psycho Kitty.
Yeah. I also believe that that the internet, it's lucky that there are cats in the world because it keeps the internet going.
It's true.
There are more videos of cats on the internet. It's just, it was made for cats.
Yeah, I think so. But you've done something that so many people wish, and that's just to be with a tiger for a very short time, actually be in the same, space as a tiger. It's
a tiger.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
As long as you don't have to clean up after them and do all the work you did.
Yeah, well,
I can't even
that
imagine.
was my belief, though. That's part of having the opportunity to have them in my life is to make sure that I'm also the one responsible.
Mm-hmm. Well, you did a beautiful job with it, and it sounds like a great show.
Next week, I have no idea what I'm doing yet. I'm getting to that point where I'm like, okay, I start planning a week out, right? Now I'm planning like 2 days.
That's a positive sign. Stress, that means the stress level's gone down. You've gotten more in control of what your content's going to be.
Yeah.
No, it's actually a positive. Don't look at it as a negative. That's a positive because you're not panicking the minute you get off the air about the next show.
Right.
So, you're progressing very well, sir. I'm very proud of you.
All right. That was a good thing to chat about before I have to talk about Korea.
Okay. Korea. Let's first talk about why are you in Korea? Let's set the scene here.
I actually was asked to go out and perform for 7 months in a new theater that was built for me there in Korea. I have traveled this world 5 times over, and going back to Korea, as I had performed before, was a thrill. I love traveling this world. It makes me feel so alive and seeing all the different cultures. And, the United States is the biggest melting pot of the world.
Oh, yeah.
So we get all the cultures here. Mm-hmm. But when you go to like Korea or Japan or anywhere in the world other than the United States, most of that country, 90% of the people that live there are that culture. They're that people, right? So in Korea, they're all Korean. In Japan, they're all Japanese. You're going to have a few foreigners here and there, but their culture is embedded in their country. And the United States, you don't feel that. You can always go to Chinatown. I mean, that's always awesome, something like that. That's what I'm trying to point out. But imagine that the whole world that you're in at that point is all Chinese or all Japanese or Korean. So I love going to that culture and enjoying being the minority, so to speak.
Yeah, that's hard to imagine if you've never really been out of the States to a country like that. But that would definitely be very different. And you would understand the culture because it's all around you constantly. How long ago was this? What year was this about?
I don't want to. It was a while back.
It was a while back.
It was before I was in Branson, right before I was in Branson.
All right.
So these are years back, but they are experiences that carry me through the rest of my life. I cannot forget it. I don't want to forget it. There are so many lessons learned, and I just hope that as we converse today that I get this right. There's so many ways it could be said. And I really want people to understand that when I'm talking about this, at times I may just be saying, well, this happened to me and that happened to me. And I don't want you to think, because most people, they believe that my life has been wonderful and glorious. And
well, that's with any celebrity. Yeah, that's what we
because
think.
That's what they tell me. They tell me that my life is wonderful. And I say, this time I get to share with them that I'm human and this is what I had to go through. And I hope that you're inspired by it and you press forward and realize that we all have the capability as humans to do far, far more than we can ever imagine.
When you're called upon to do it. So you are advancing the show. You're there by yourself, getting things all ready to go. I know you've shipped over tons of
the entire
equipment.
Production,
right?
Tigers, everything.
This is full of tigers too.
Tigers, yes.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. Still, okay.
We had 4 tigers in the show.
Oh my goodness!
They had arrived. They were in Korea. They had a beautiful habitat already built at the theater for me. So a lot had been put into this. 2 years of planning.
Wow.
And then I go to pick up Tara and the rest of the cast at the airport. and I curl over in a ball in excruciating pain at the airport. I am sitting in a chair, and the cast, they're excited. They've landed in Korea. They're having a blast of their life, right?
Uh-huh.
And I can't even get out of the chair. And Tara runs over to me, and I'm trying to tell the interpreter that I can't move. And Tara says, yes, he can't move. And I am saying, I'll get over it. No problem. Then we'll be on our way. Just let me sit here for a minute. And Tara says, no, we need to get you to the hospital. I said, I am not going to a hospital in Korea.
Yeah.
We're barely here. We've got a show in 5 days. I have so much to do. This is not going to happen. Right.
Well, hospitals are scary enough, but if you're going to a hospital, they probably aren't going to be able to understand much that you say. And this is all going down at the airport?
It's going at the airport.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
I, being a man, just like I said, kind of push it away and say, I don't want to go to the doctors. I want nothing to do with this. Let's move on with our lives, and it'll pass. And Tara said, no way, we're going to the airport.
Good for her.
We took our interpreter with us. There's another woman speaking. Good for her.
Yes, absolutely. Yay, Tara.
And so we headed to the hospital, and sure enough, once we got there, we had a translator by our side. That was just a bizarre, surreal moment anyway. I didn't know what anybody was saying. The doctors were speaking feverishly fast as far as I could tell. And it came back to us that I had an appendix that was just about to burst.
Oh, my gosh.
And I just said, well, then how long do I have before we have to deal with this? And in a translation, the doctor said, you're going nowhere. We're taking it out tonight.
Oh, my
gosh.
gosh.
That bad. It's that bad.
Oh,
yes.
Overseas, people, you can't understand what they're saying. And I'm sure their hospitals are a lot different than ours.
You know what? I will tell you this. Let's say it from the front side. I was amazed at how wonderful the hospital was in Korea.
Really?
They brought me to a beautiful hospital. And they actually, when I went in for the surgery, they called in a specialist specific. They just said, in fact, that they were able to keep me going through the early morning, and they were waiting for the specialist to come in and take care of me. I was stubborn. I pushed against everybody as long as I possibly could. This was indeed a very unnerving discussion, and the translators and doctors turning to me and saying, it's going to happen. It's going to burst. We're taking it out tonight. You're going into the hospital. And that's it. That's it. And I told my cast and crew, okay, go to the theater, do what you can without me. That's the hardest part, because they rely on me to guide and direct them in prepping the show. And I just said, I don't know what else to tell them. They just need to get there, get settled, and they need to do whatever they can while I'm dealing with this dilemma.
And at this point, you're still planning to go on stage and perform the show that you do, which in my point is extremely athletic with all the moving around that you do, in 5 days.
Well, the show opened in 5 days. That massive preparation. Imagine that. I mean, the Tigers are in place. The show is in place. Thousands of tickets have been sold the first week. Everything is in order. We've got producers, directors, investors. There are people. They're not very happy with me at that moment. And, and it was way out of my hands. I had no choice in the matter. I was admitted into the hospital, and what done is done. I met the surgeon. They put me actually in a private room. They provided me with my own private nurses.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
They even pulled in an English-speaking doctor while I was there to assist with the communication.
Wow.
So that in itself began to make me feel a bit more comfortable. But I was amazed at how they wanted to take care of me. They all knew who I was. They knew what I was supposed to be doing in Korea. I was all over the television, commercials, radio.
I was going to say, they probably had tickets to the show in their back pocket.
And now I'm in hospital.
Well, we're all humans, you're very superhuman on stage, with the magic and all that. And at the end of the day, you're just a human being, and you were facing something that I've never dealt with anything like that. I know it's life-threatening.
Yeah.
And it must have been absolutely horrific. Came out of absolute nowhere I don't know if there could have been a less appropriate time. My gosh.
It was less appropriate, but again, life gets in the way. And as I share this with you, I'm kind of really opening my life up to everyone in this chapter. I say things that at times when I was writing it saying, do I really need to tell everybody this? But it kind of helps to just get it across that my life has been as challenging as everybody else's. There are wonderful parts to it as well, but it kind of helps me help myself help you understand that we're all, as you put it, all human. Yeah. In fact, when I was born, I was actually born with the stomach of an 85-year-old man. And I had 3 surgeries throughout my youth and teens for hernia operations. I was born with a very little stomach at all, and they had to rebuild it. And so there you go. Now I'd had hernia operations. I had broken bones as I was growing up, as all young boys do. They fall out of trees. They run their bike into walls, whatever it may be.
Fly off the roof.
Well, you had a broken bone, haven't you?
Oh, more than you want to talk about. Yeah.
I know. Well, this is not just about me today. If you want to share a thought or two, please, because I know that your life is rough as well. And I think that that's what's important. I want people to know this is not about Rick Thomas. This is about all of us.
I've had some instances. Yeah. I'm recovering right now from foot surgery.
Yeah.
Even as we speak.
And we have to admit, there were times where I don't know how you did it, could barely even get to the studio for us to do the podcast. And you did anyway. And people listening, she was in excruciating, massive pain. And I'm like, do you know what, Tammy, we really don't need to do this. Let's not do this. And there were moments where tears were flowing because she was in pain.
Yes.
And she would hold her breath. She'd wipe away the tears, and we'd do the podcast. Just so you know, those are things that you do not see behind the scenes, and it's just to share.
Well, I'm as stubborn as you, because the accident that I'm still recovering from of almost 18 months ago now, when I broke both of my ankles, I did not want to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
I did not. And with 2 broken ankles, I drove myself to my foot doctor's office because I didn't want to go in an ambulance to the hospital. I wanted to go where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And nobody believes that I did that. I don't believe that I did that. It was one of the dumber things I've done, I think, in my life. And I was screaming the whole 2 miles that I was driving because of the pain. But I was stubborn too, just like you. Unfortunately, I didn't have somebody like Tara right there to orchestrate and demand. And I wish I had. You're very fortunate. She was right there at that moment.
She actually was more than you can imagine, because the reason why I brought up the hernia operations is when I was in surgery, they demanded that Tara urgently come into the operating room while I was on the table. And without getting into what Tara says she saw, I was laid out on the table, and the doctors had already begun operating on me, and they put her in scrubs.
No way.
In Korea, and brought her into the room because she was the only person who could speak on my behalf. And the reason they brought her in, and I don't know why they did that, why the doctor didn't just come out and they just translated outside the room. They brought her in to try to tell her that they could not find my appendix.
What? Wait.
They couldn't.
Find it?
At first, I would think that you're saying what? Tara says that when this happened, literally in her head, she's like, well, wait a minute. I watched Grey's Anatomy. That's like the first thing that you're taught is how to take an appendix out, right? That's all. She's flipping out. She's like, you guys have a problem finding the appendix? I think that's the first thing in Doctor 101, right?
Oh, my gosh.
And they said, no, it's not there. And from what we found is when I had my other surgeries, my doctor or doctors decided to put me all back together again by just putting parts back in my body and not in the right place.
Wherever they fit, just put them in there.
Fit. So when the doctors got in there to do what they usually do, and that is a minor pinhole, keyhole incision.
Like a arthroscopy almost.
They couldn't find the appendix. And for that reason, they had to ask her, we're not quite sure where they are. will you allow us to go old school and cut him to do the appendectomy? How do you say that?
Appendectomy.
There you go, appendectomy.
There's the newscaster
I'm so sorry.
part.
My mouth would have never said that right because I was saying the verbiage wrong in the first place. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that must have been just horrific for her though to go. Because I've watched Grey's Anatomy, I've watched ER, I've watched all those shows, and the operating rooms look a little scary, and I'm sure that is not a tenth of what they really look like in terms of scary, and especially when that's somebody that you love on the table. That must have been, oh my gosh, that poor girl.
You need to understand that we had a 22-year-old female girl who was our translator, and she had to be there as well because she was translating for Tara. And Tara says she says she lost it. She's like,
I bet
I'm not supposed to be here.
No,
I'm supposed to be translating for a magic show, and now we're in the hospital and translating. Do we cut here? Do we cut there?
In an operating room?
Yeah,
looking for an appendix.
I think they said they found it towards my back. I'm not quite sure, but it was found, but they had to make a couple incisions.
Oh my goodness.
And they cut along the side of my stomach and literally kind of had to shuffle through things to find the appendix. And it was indeed in a completely different place than it is supposed to be. And then the doctors put me back together the best they could. And in so many words, it was a rough surgery.
That is insane. I can't even imagine that your doctors, when you were a kid, would not try to put things back in the semi-proper location. It just doesn't. That sounds like a bad Hollywood script, really. Oh my goodness.
And I don't know how far off it was. It's just that they couldn't find it where, enough where they go, it's not like, it's slightly off centered.
Oh my God.
So I stayed in the hospital, and I laugh about it now. But, but when I woke up, I was beat up.
I bet.
I was beat up, right? I stayed in the hospital for 5 days after the surgery. It had been harsh. They took great care of me during my surgery. They tried to feed me Western style food. It's funny because I've so often, more than not, they attempt, when you're in that country, once they've come to the United States, whether they're Korean or Japanese, and they learn a Western culture, they get it, they understand how to cook it, that kind of thing. But when they're over there in that part of the world and they're trying to give you something that, first of all, the first day they brought food to me, and it was fish heads. Right? It was fish and just a bunch of food that just didn't sit well with me.
I can guess.
Kimchi. Kimchi is a massively popular food.
What is that?
It is a fermented cabbage.
No.
Yes.
No, thank you.
It's fermented cabbage.
Ooh.
And if you have kimchi, don't put it in your refrigerator because it will permeate through the refrigerator. You will have to throw the refrigerator away.
And they're trying to feed this to you after you've just had surgery in your gastric kind of area.
Yeah. So they were kind to me, and they realized, I said, can I have something that is more towards what I could eat. So with the private nurses, the doctor coming in, checking on me constantly, producers going ballistic on me. You need to get yourself well. You need to get back to the theater. We'll talk about that in just a bit. That was just horrific. That was the second part of the challenge. But we have good days and bad days. And into those 5 days, I was extremely grateful to the Korean doctors and the hospital staff for their amazing treatment. I really did receive much more than I anticipated in this wonderful country, and I can't thank them enough for what they did, who they were, and how they handled the scenario. So that is the first part of it. Now I need to get out of the hospital.
Now you're there 5 days, so if I'm counting right, you're almost at showtime?
I'm almost at showtime. But I'm not, I am worried about the show, but I'm worried about getting out of the hospital because I need to take care of what it's going to cost me to get out of the hospital. I'm in a foreign country. It's my responsibility. I have producers. Yes, I have this.
I didn't even think about that.
But I began to worry about the private room, the care that was given to me, the emergency doctors, the 5 days in the hospital. And as we came, and our interpreter said, Mr. Thomas, please be aware that they were always so respectful to me. And I say that, Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Thomas, yes.
Yeah. It's required that you pay for the hospital stay before you're allowed to leave the hospital. That is part of our culture. This is what you must do.
And none of your insurances would cover you there?
No.
In any way?
They had insurances. They had insurance. There's international insurance that is there.
Okay.
But we didn't have time for producers to deal with it. They were dealing with their lives as well. I needed to take care of that moment. Tara said, well, let's see what the issues are. Well, first of all, I thought, there's just no way I'm going to be able to afford it. We are going to have to go through the insurance and all this and that.
Yeah.
As I was being wheeled out of the hospital, there were nurses and doctors lining the hallway, bowing at me. They're bowing, and our interpreter saying that they're translating by saying, "We're so sorry. We apologize for your bills. We apologize for this cost." And I'm thinking, I'm alive. I thank you so much. I appreciate your efforts. And
who's bowing to who here, really?
Right. And they're apologizing for the cost of the surgery. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to be bad.
Right.
So in South Korea, they have a won. It's a won, W-O-N. In the United States, we have the dollar.
Oh, okay.
And of course, they're different. And there's an exchange rate that goes into that as well. So the bill was written in wons.
Okay.
And it started with a 3.
Okay.
And then a comma. And 000, comma, 000, comma, 000.
Oh.
And I saw this massive number, and our translator looked at us and she said, okay, you need to pay this now.
Ooh.
And you need to write us a check and make sure that the entire bill is paid before you're allowed to leave the hospital. They just don't allow foreigners to walk out of the hospital.
Well, because you'll jump on a plane and be gone. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and this is a drum roll, and I don't want to prolong it, but my entire surgery, 5 days in the hospital, and the exceptional care I received was $3,000.
Oh my gosh! All of that. I'm going
$3,000.
Next time I get sick, I'm going to Korea. That's
$3,000, and they were apologizing to me for how expensive it was and what they were putting me through to have to pay. And I looked at Tara and I said, "Are we talking $3,000 U.S. currency?"
Right.
And
I would
our
have
interpreter
been totally
said, yes.
Confused.
I grabbed a checkbook as fast as I possibly could, and I paid the bill, and Tara and I walked out there with smiles on our faces, bigger than you can possibly imagine.
Wow.
Imagine, and here's my blessing. Here's the blessing to Rick. Thank goodness it happened in Korea. What if that would have happened in the United States?
Oh, forget it.
What would it have cost me?
Forget it.
So I figured it out. The bill would have been between $40,000 and $50,000.
Oh, easily. Private room, special doctors. Oh, 5 days. Oh, it would have been easily that much.
So we do, and here's the part where I become political. We do have a massive problem in the United States.
Oh, agreed. Yeah.
We have a problem with our health system. We have a problem with our drug system, that is prescription drug system, our hospitals, the way they charge us for items. It just goes on and on and on. And I know we need health care, but when you have people in other parts of the world
You can do that.
asking for forgiveness from me for how much the bill is, and we're so sorry, and the bill is so minute.
Yeah, by our standards. Yeah.
By our standards, I was that was a very good day of my life.
If you take that bill and you compare it to the price of other things that are life necessities there in Korea, like buying a car, like renting an apartment, is everything along the same lines in terms of how low it is?
Well, I didn't buy a car in Korea.
Right.
But I do know that the cost of living there is more affordable than it is here. And I just think that their healthcare system just runs a different way. I'm not going to say it's the doctor's fault or the hospital's fault, but in our healthcare system, there's some gouging going on that has got to stop.
Yeah. I just had a pharmacist apologize to me profusely about a week ago. I was prescribed a medication. Nothing. It's not for anything life-threatening, but it is to relieve a symptom that I'm having that's challenging my life right now. I'm having hot flashes. Okay. They're horrible. They're miserable. Within 30 seconds, you look like you just did the 26-mile marathon. And there is a drug that's come out that's very, very effective. My doctor prescribed it. And I'm excited. It's like, yes, finally something. Went to the pharmacy, turned in my script. I'm excited, really, because she said within 2 days, this will be in the rearview mirror. Pharmacist comes back and looks at me and said, I have to tell you that we can fill this, but the monthly charge will be $1,962.
What are you talking about?
She said, your insurance does not cover it. So I immediately said, well, what about, and there's a couple of, you see them on TV, those prescription services that bring your cost down.
Yeah.
And I said, what about this one and that one? And she looked at me and says, well, it's better. And I'm thinking, good, better. She said, it'll be between $580 to $630, depending on which one of those you use. But I still can't afford that a month for 30 pills. I have been on the phone with the drug company. They've got little programs here and there. I don't qualify for anything. So at this moment, I can't get this drug. I cannot get it. That's unless I take a second on my house. Seriously, that is out on the market that will, and again, what if this was a life-threatening situation this drug would be, helping with?
As it is with so many people.
Exactly.
That is our problem.
Exactly.
That's why we have so many people in this country screaming and yelling, saying,
yes,
I can't afford my prescription.
Yes, this is an inconvenience for me. It's a life changer for me, but it's not a life-threatening thing for me. That's why I started to think about when I was driving home. I was fuming, but I was also thinking, my God, if this was a drug that could save my life, prolong my life, beat back something terrible, and I was driving, I would have been falling to pieces, because there it is. It was like 10 feet away from me at the pharmacy, and I couldn't get it.
Couldn't get it.
Yeah. I've heard about that happening. I've had those stories on the air. It is so different when it happens to you. I really want to, I wish I could go out and campaign on it.
Yeah. So we're thinking about all of you out there.
Yeah.
And like I said, as we discuss this, it doesn't take long before we go the, oh, woe is me route. And like, oh my goodness, what I have to go through. In this case, traveling to the theater and doing the show, the producer said basically, we're not canceling shows. If you do, you're going to have to get your way home. You're going to have to take care of your cargo, your flights, everything back to the United States. You're not canceling contract. You're performing tomorrow. And I'm in a wheelchair. And and I just said, I can't have just a few more days. And they said, no, the show must go on. And I thought at one point I was going to have to do the show possibly in the wheelchair.
Oh, my gosh.
Sounds bizarre. But I was able to give myself enough drugs.
Okay.
Prescription drugs.
Right.
To get myself out of the wheelchair and stand basically for the next 2 weeks in one place on the stage while my cast and crew actually pulled off the show as I stood there and just pointed in many directions to make it look as though I was doing something of worth.
That's what I was trying to figure out, because you vanish yourself, you fly, you do all this, like I said earlier, very athletic stuff.
And there were points where I had to actually still present those parts of the production. I had sutures in.
Yeah.
I had I can just tell you that it was a really bad few weeks of my life.
Wow.
And remembering that the show must go on. Last night, even when I was presenting my show, I was feeling a bit ill last night before my show. And I put my head down before I walked out of the room saying, how am I going to pull this off? And I did. And I finished the show.
Yeah, you just do. You do. I, as you said, I've done it too. And you just take a moment of pause and collect and go.
It was, without doubt, one of the most difficult times of my life. It was, and I look back on it, and I was in excruciating pain. I had overwhelming responsibilities, Producers were no way going to cancel the shows. And I had to, as we said, present a show, and the show must go on. Now, listen to me carefully, all those listening to this podcast and wondering how you fit in. I want you to know that we all face the similar challenges. We all have to overcome obstacles and deal with what life throws at us and push through the pain. And the show must go on.
Yeah, you don't know day to day what's going to happen. You just simply don't.
Yeah, it taught me how, no matter how far down you may think you are, no matter how much pain you think you're in, we as humans are resilient and we can accomplish amazing things in the most challenging of times. Do I wish I had not to have done that? Of course.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But I almost had no choice. I had responsibilities not only to myself, but to my cast and my crew. And I would have been stuck in Korea. I don't know what I would have done.
Oh, with bills bigger than what you even thought the hospital could possibly be.
Right.
Yeah, you would have been on your own with tigers and props and cast and everything over there. And probably some lawsuits headed your way too. At the end of the day. No, you had to. And sometimes we have to. And it's like, this isn't fair. Everybody look at me, I'm sick or I'm hurt, I can't do it. And unfortunately, sometimes the world doesn't look back at you very sympathetically.
No.
I've learned that too. Yeah. It's like, show must go on. And we're not talking about just show business here. We're talking about life show must go on. Yeah.
That was something that was realistic to me years and years and years before. I was much younger. I went to a retreat, a professional business retreat, where for 3 days they put us through setting our goals, becoming something of worth in the world of business. And those 3 days, they put us through a lot of challenges. The biggest challenge, and I didn't know until we got there, no one was told, is we were not allowed to sleep for 3 days.
Oh, forget that.
So for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we had no sleep. So not only did we have to do the process and work the system, we had no sleep. Now, by the third day, we were delirious.
At least.
I was thrashed. And the frustration is they never really gave us the reasons why. They just said, we're going to show you, first of all, what you can accomplish in those 3 days. But what they wanted to make sure was, at the end of the 3 days, said to us, don't ever do this again.
Right.
Get your sleep. But we wanted to let you know that you, as a human being, can do amazing things if you put your mind to it. And you can become a great strength. We don't suggest this is the way you live your life, but you can do great things. And it was their way of saying the same thing. You can do more than expected.
Right. Push through anything.
And so I hope those people who've really listened to this podcast today come out with one thing, that you are amazing, that we as humans can do amazing things, and you can see it all around you. I am still amazed at the accomplishments that people have made that makes our life wonderful. How we live our lives today is amazing. I have a brother who is out in, I believe, Chile right now, doing some work with the local people in that area. And he just said, Rick, you can't believe how these people live.
Really?
You can't believe sleep on the dirt floor. They have 10 families living together. They have no food. They have this. They have, and you think that sometimes, I know that we have the homeless here in the United States, but I can tell you this: just being in the States itself, being in a country that's this free, that has the opportunities available to us, you are still living a better life than in so many other places across this world. I have been out there. I've seen what's out there. I've experienced it. And I don't want to specifically just list every country that I've had problems in and the things that I've seen. But I can tell you, embrace what's given to you and enjoy what opportunities have been afforded to you. And I just glad I only have one appendix.
Wherever it might be.
That's right.
Wherever it now is located.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to have another one taken out.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's not located anywhere anymore.
No,
it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah. So
wow.
as far as giving you all the fuzzy, warm feelings about today, and not worrying about Rick Thomas, I have a saying I live by every day: be a little kinder to everyone.
Yes.
You have no idea what they're going through.
You don't.
I am grateful for that given to me, and I share that with you today. I understand if somebody has challenges in their life. I think because of the ones I've experienced, I can be a little bit more sympathetic. And just go out there and realize that life is difficult and we're all in this together. And I'm sorry for the challenges that you're facing, but you're strong.
Yep.
And you can get through this and pull it off.
You can.
The show must go on.
It must. And you must be with it.
Thanks for joining us this week on Nothing Happens Until You Dream, starring Rick Thomas and featuring Tammy Trujillo, and is based on Rick Thomas's best-selling book, The Tiger Whisker, available on rickthomas.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out on Patreon for exclusive members-only content. Stay up to date with Rick and Tammy at nothinghappensUntilYouDream.com. Remember, you must follow your dreams, not only for yourself, but for the rest of our future. We'll see you on the next episode.